Here's how to make this really cool exposed brain effect. So this exposed brain effect is for my short film Motherly Lovecraft, and I wrote a scene of a person with an exposed brain, kind of like this really schlocky sci-fi thing like from yesteryear. Originally I planned to have it be an exposed brain where there's a cut and a slit and there's nothing mechanical holding the brain together. It's all just this bloody mess. But budgetarily and time-wise, we just couldn't do it. I then thought, okay, well, it's just gonna be like this metal band around the head. I did a test with a fully CGI version, and it just didn't work as well because that practical element needed to be there. So I asked the prop master of the film, Alex Radnoff, if he could make something. So he just got some EVA foam and some real nuts and bolts and added it to it. The blending of the practical to the CGI head would be a lot easier because then there's a hard line, all designed with a purpose for visual effects later. We did add a little orange tape around the edge because the light was all purpley for the film. The orange tape showed up a lot better than like green did. And so we just put a couple markers on there to add to the tracking. And the nuts and bolts were actually for a purpose, for tracking. So I'm using those nuts to 3D track later really easily. And then I brought that footage into Blender to track it. For this shot particularly, I did track it and was able to get an object track right out of Blender using Blender's object tracker just built into it. In this shot, it actually worked, and let me tell you, it did not work for most of the shots. A lot of the shots that he's moving around quite a bit, so I had to completely hand track it. So then I got pretty much all the shots done, and holy crap, something came out right after I got, like literally a week after I got done with all these shots where I hand tracked it. Geo Tracker by Keen Tools came out for Blender, where you can object track things. You can use an object to track things that look like that object. Luckily, I had the forethought to 3D scan the head of the actor, so I can use that as the base to hand track on, or use it as for Keen Tools to track over top of. So that 3D scan really came into handy for that. So I went back and I retracked everything that I hand tracked for hours and it looked a lot better. So thank you, Keen Tools, for coming out with that literally a week later than I actually needed it. So, you know, sometimes you have to do an effect twice. Then I added the brain, and the brain was just a model I found online. Somebody's already modeled brains online. I'm not gonna model it, why do I have to? And then I gave it a really gross texture. I think I put like meat, like a meaty texture on it, and like made it look really wet and gross. And I cranked the subsurface scattering, which is basically, everybody does this f***ing example, but this is subsurface scattering. Where the light from the blood behind it is like being lit up. That's subsurface scattering. So you crank that up, and that really looks really brainy. So then I matched the lighting as well as I could. It was mostly one light. It's just the one purple light coming through. So it was kind of really easy to match it using like area lights and matching the color as best as I can. But one thing that I did add to all the shots was a hair light, or a brain light, if you will, behind it to add that little shimmer of brightness to really make it look wet. If it wasn't there, it looked really dry. And so it just didn't look gross. So sometimes you have to add those little artistic flares and accents to really make something look like the way you want to look like, even if it didn't happen on set. And honestly, I don't think anybody's going to care about that. And I think it actually adds to the project. Then I rendered that out, brought it into After Effects, and then I had to painstakingly use Mocha to rotoscope out the band of the head so we can put the brain behind it. But that real element definitely helped everything blend together really well. So I'm glad that I did it, even though it was a pain to do. Then I added scary eyes to the Mocha track as well. So I just tracked his eyeballs, and then I put black on it. And then I also tracked the little light in his eye, and then I cut that out of it, so we have like a nice white eye light to actually make it look like his eyes. So, and we did actually have contacts, but it just didn't work. And then we had a really weird looking cult member for a really cool short film. But at the end of the day, if something doesn't work, like when my original idea didn't work, I pivoted to something that would. Make sure when a roadblock happens, just pivot and make it as best as you can. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment. You can go and check out the trailer for the film. Thank you for watching.